steered the car up onto the grass verge, wrestled it back onto the road, and then we hit the opposite grass verge, rolled, and skidded along upside down.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, if you live in the UK, you will know there is only one dedicated paper kit car magazine, and that is CKC, or to give it its full title, Complete Kit Car. Now, that was originally started back in the 80s by Peter Filby. It then passed to the hands of Ian Stent back in, I think, about 2007, and that's where it was renamed Complete Kit Car. And then in 2016, Adam Wilkins took it over, and Adam will be known to a lot of you. He's done previews with us for the various kit car shows. But amazingly, on Friday, 1st of September 2023, we had a press release that Adam has actually sold Complete Kit Car. But it is in safe hands because it has passed to Jack Wood, who has been working for the magazine for the last few years. But I'm really pleased to say we have got Adam Wilkins with us, who is going to tell us about his reasoning behind selling it, some of his memories from the kit car industry over the years he's been in it, and also a little bit about Jack. So I'm really pleased to welcome into the studio Adam Wilkins. Welcome, Adam.
Hello, good evening.
Brilliant. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciated this. So after all these years, for those of you that haven't seen the great video we did with Adam at Newark, from his work experience days up until, Thursday, I suppose, you were an employee of Complete Kit Car, Which Kit before?
That's right, yeah. So, started in 2000 at Which Kit, carried on with Ian when he relaunched it as Complete Kit Car, and then took over, as you say, in 2016.
And after 23 years, you thought it was time for change of employer, possibly?
Yeah, I suppose there's only so long you can do one thing for, isn't there? Yeah.
So I suppose the big question that's going to come to people is why? What's triggered this for you to decide to sell now?
I still love the kit car industry. On Thursday night before we made the announcement on Friday, I was awake till 3 a.m. staring at the ceiling, wondering if I'd made the right decision. It's not been an easy decision to let it go. But I was also editing Absolute Lotus magazine and Alternative Cars. And it just got to the stage where I was trying to do too much in one go. And I just thought I wasn't doing anything to the best it could be. So I thought, concentrate on one thing, get Jack to, ask Jack if he would like to take on CKC, which thankfully he did. And he can concentrate on that. And each magazine will then have its own focus.
So just to sort of mention the ones that are in the stable and explain, as I understand it, how it's worked. Your business is Performance Publishing that produces, or up until Thursday, produced CKC, also produced Absolute Lotus, which has been a very successful magazine launched for the Lotus enthusiast in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
and you've also got Alternative Cars.
Correct. Yep.
So effectively, you have kept Performance Publishing and Alternative Cars and Absolute Lotus, and Jack has taken away CKC.
Correct. Yeah. So Jack has set up his own limited company to operate Complete Kit Car.
Okay. And so now you're sort of going to be able to put your feet up for part of the week. What are you going to be concentrating on going forward?
So I'll be focusing on Absolute Lotus magazine, which is bi-monthly. So yeah, I've gone from having more than 20 deadlines a year to just 6. So that's quite nice. And yeah, really maximizing that magazine and making more people aware of it, trying to attract more advertisers, as well as continuing to do the editorial side, which has really been my main focus on all 3 titles over the last few years.
Yeah, in some of the conversations when we've been trying to arrange particularly previews for kit car shows, it seemed every week there was a deadline for you in some way, shape or form. And I did wonder how you were keeping up. So I'm not totally surprised that you've taken this decision.
Yeah, no, I will. One day I'll look back on the time I spent as editor of 3 magazines at once and wonder what the hell I was doing, really.
And what about alternative cars? What have you got going on there?
We've subscribers already know this, but we've not really spoken about it beyond our subscriber database. But alternative cars is currently on hold, and we are planning to bring it back next year in a slightly revised format. Because it hasn't quite attracted enough advertisers, which is something I'm going to be working on over the next few months. And Jack and I have talked about actually bringing it back as a joint venture next year, because we both love the subject matter and we both want to see it succeed. So yeah, we're sort of taking it off the road, and it's a bit of a winter project.
Okay, because alternative cars, for those that aren't aware, it's sort of almost, to say it fills the gap between Absolute Lotus and Complete Kit Cars, not quite right, but you're from those sort of particularly those earlier specialist cars and things like TVRs. That it's that kind of area of sort of very niche sort of sports cars, really, isn't it?
Yeah, correct. It's sort of the cars that are not quite mainstream. So TVR, Lotus, Morgan, Caterham. Yeah, and anything more left field than that.
Okay, so going forward, tell us a little bit about Jack, because obviously you've worked together for a few years at the magazine. So, you know, presumably at some point you identified Jack as the ideal person to sort of hand over the reins of Complete Kit Cards to. But how did it all start?
Yeah, so I actually just advertised the job 5 years ago. We had a few people come to us for an interview, and Jack turned up here as a 26-year-old who was a Midas owner, and his dream car was a Barclay, and I thought, well, that's the man for the job, really. So yeah, he has tremendous knowledge of kit cars, historic kit cars, current kit cars. Yeah, and I couldn't think of a better person to hand it on to, really.
And obviously, turning up in a Midas, you almost don't need a CV, do you? If you pull up with one of those to the office, you're in.
Exactly. Yeah. I when we advertised the job, so the job originally for Jack was across Complete Kit Car and Absolute Lotus, and I thought it's going to be easier to find somebody for the Lotus magazine, and they'll do the kit car stuff, you know, because they have to. And actually, we found a real rarity, because we found Jack, who was really into the kit cars. So he'd been a Complete Kit Car reader. He'd been to Stoneleigh and Newark, you know, many years before he came to join us. So yeah, he is a kit car enthusiast through and through, which is what you need to be if you're going to run a kit car magazine.
You've got to have the passion for the industry in it to be able to create these magazines. I can't believe you could have someone from like almost a corporate background to come in to do this kind of role. And yeah, having met Jack, yeah, his enthusiasm definitely does sort of bubble out, and his knowledge as well. For one, I know you and me aren't that old, but for one so young, he definitely has, you know, a great deal of knowledge about him.
He really does, yeah. And likewise, if the magazine had been sold to a bigger publishing house or something, again, I just don't think that's the right environment for it. I think it needs to be independently owned, and independently owned by someone who loves the subject matter.
And what we have got coming up in the near future is we're going to have a similar chat as we're having with Adam here with Jack, to find out a bit more about Jack and what his plans are for the magazine. So please make sure you click those like and subscribe buttons, and you'll find out about when we upload that video. Now, you're not quite putting your CKC pen down for good, though, are you?
Correct. Yeah. So I'm still going to be freelancing for Jack. So yeah, the next issue that you see, the November 2023 issue, is Jack's first issue. And yeah, I've already done a couple of freelance features for that edition. So yeah, hopefully he'll keep me on.
I think you've probably got a bit of knowledge, etc., which is going to certainly want to make him want you to sort of hang around.
Yeah.
So going back over these 23 years of Which Kit and Complete Kit Car, I want to have a poke around and find some bits that make us chuckle, and maybe sort of memories that I can drag out of you of some fun times over the years. And I was thinking, starting off with, and obviously we need to be careful for people that are still in business, etc. But have there been some sort of kit cars you've turned up and sort of gone, oh my God, what the hell is this person thinking? And how am I going to write this up as a positive story?
Yeah, there's been a few of those over the years. Luckily, they've got fewer and further between as the years went on. But I remember following a particular car to a photo location once. The kit car was in front of us. I was behind, and every time we went round the right-hand corner, the passenger door popped open.
Oh no! Right. Okay. Have you ever had that sort of point of being with somebody who's come up with something and been with them and said, look, actually, you really need to go away and maybe come back to us when it's a little bit more ready and a bit more palatable, because it's going to, even with my most creative writing, I'm going to struggle with this one.
Yeah, that does happen. I remember a particular car which I won't name, and the car itself was all right, but it was the styling that was that was not good. And styling is subjective anyway, and you've got a set of photos of the car so people can make up their own minds about the way it looks. But I remember thinking the only way I'm going to get through this is to be utterly factual about the car, and not put in any opinion about the styling at all. I'll just let the readers draw their own conclusion from looking at the photos.
That's probably that was a fairly good way out. Any sort of road tests or test drives that have ended in disaster, involving, I don't know, a hedge, a lamp post, or a wheel coming off or something like that?
Yeah, the most memorable one of those, and I'll add before I start the story, I was the passenger, was in a Matisse V8 coupe, and I hadn't even gone to feature that car. I was actually featuring a different car, and the manufacturer said, "Oh, let's go out in this, just for the fun of it, really." And we were going down a country lane in the rain, and he looked over his shoulder as he was driving to say, "Oh, look, there's a toilet roll in the back." I don't know why he wanted to tell me that as he was going around the left-hand corner quite quickly, but he did. And as he looked over his shoulder, he turned the wheel and steered the car up onto the grass verge, wrestled it back onto the road, and then we hit the opposite grass verge, rolled, and skidded along upside down for a good I don't know, maybe 50 feet, which gave you plenty of time to think about what you might be about to hit, because you couldn't see where you're going by that stage.
And the world's upside down as well.
Yeah. And then I didn't hear from him again until a few months later. He emailed my editor at the time, Peter Filby, just to ask why we hadn't run the story yet. The main reason was because I hadn't taken any photos that day, because we were in A&E instead of doing a photo shoot.
And we wouldn't have quite the same sort of effect, really. The pictures of curtains and bandages and blood and that kind of thing, I suppose.
Yeah. Luckily, all I got was a blackened thumbnail from putting my hand up on the header rail, and I think my thumb went out through the windscreen or something. But that's all I had to show for it.
So, going a different route. What about the ones that got away? Those cars. There must be one that jumps out to you that you saw and you went, that is a really nice design, nice concept. It's nicely wrapped, and it never got anywhere in sort of production wise. There was one prototype and it disappeared. Has there been one of those that stands out for you?
Yeah, a car I really liked, and this was from 2005 or 6, I think, was the Michelak C7. Which was smart based, which probably didn't do it many favors. Not that I have anything against smarts, because I have one. But it was a really slickly designed sort of 2-seater roadster based on smart mechanicals, and that was being brought in by Smarts R Us at the time, who went on to become Exo Sports Cars as they are now. And I really like that, but yeah, it just clearly didn't appeal to people because it had a 600cc engine and a very slow automated manual gear change.
A lot of looks, but not necessarily the go that people were looking for.
Exactly. Yeah. It was a lovely looking thing though.
And what about because we're in a situation with the kit car market at the moment where the majority of designs out there are replicas rather than individual cars. Do you think that's a way we're going to continue? Because you look in the market, there's the Cobra, there's the GT40, there's the sort of Jaguar replicas, and obviously the 7-star replicas, Chesil. There's all that, and there's very few sort of, you look at the Exocet, those kind of cars. There's very few that are unique. Do you think there's going to be a renaissance of those individual designs, or is it are we selling the dreams which are only attainable by building a replica?
I'd like to think original styling would come back in a big way, but I think it's so much easier to sell a Cobra to somebody who's had a Cobra on their garage wall for the last 20 years and can finally afford one than it is to sell them something with an original design. I think probably the simplest way to do original designs now is as a body kit. And I think that's probably the way we're more likely to see original styling in the kit car market. But yeah, I think replicas are just a far easier sell, just because you're already sold on the looks of the car as a customer. You already know you want it. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
And I think the other thing is with the big thing, talking to people at Newark and at Malvern, is how the quality has gone up in the industry, but also this has obviously taken the price with it as well.
Yeah.
So if you're going to spend 20, 30, 40, 50,000 on something, I suppose you want to be really confident in the look. Whereas if you're only spending 6, 8, 10, 12,000 pounds, you might take the risk of something which is a bit more individual.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point too.
So looking back then, if you had to put together your sort of ideal car, what would it be? Would you be looking for something, I don't know, like I'm thinking from engine wise, would you go for V8? Would you go like 4-cylinder turbo? Would you go for a rotary engine? Would you want front engined, rear engined? What not sort of coming up with a specific car, but just what your overall concept. What would be your ideal car from all the ones you've driven?
I would definitely go Honda K20, possibly supercharged, mid-engined, and then from there, I don't know whether I'd go very lightweight and really basic like a silver J15, or whether I would do something more practical and usable like a GTM Libra. But yeah, I'd like a supercharged Honda K20 in the back of something.
Well, funny enough, and just to do a quick cross plug, we did an interview. I don't know if it's a guy you're aware of, Oliver Pickard, who's building that GTM in France with the Honda K20 engine in the back. We did an interview with him, which we'll pop in the links below.
Yeah.
So that that's going to be a real weapon once he's done it.
That's the car, isn't it? Yeah.
So, Adam, it's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. Great for that update on where things are with CKC and Absolute Lotus. And obviously, you mentioned alternative cars paused for a little bit, but it hasn't gone away. You're bringing it back, aren't you?
Yeah.
And so that's been really great. And we're not going to miss you at kit car shows, are you? You're going to be back again next year for Malvern and Newark?
Yeah, I will still be there. Yeah, absolutely.
That would be absolutely brilliant. So thank you again for your time, Adam. It's been really appreciated. And hopefully... Sorry, Adam, I cut across you there. Yeah, thanks for that. But hopefully you at home there have really enjoyed watching this and getting this update from Adam and where things are. And I'm sure you'll join me in wishing Jack all the best for the future with CKC. And as I said earlier, we will be having Jack in for a chat as well. So please do make sure you subscribe to the channel to make sure you get the notifications. Take care.